The Special Kolin podcast is brought to you by all the wonderful people that support at patreon.com/Attack of the Beards. That's right. This podcast is now part of the Attack of the Beards network. It's no longer just a solo podcast. Although it's just going to be one person still. But it's not just going to be by itself. There's going to be more podcasts, the more people that support. So head on over there. Donate whatever value you get out of these podcasts. I hope you return it in there. More on that later. But first, let's jump into the show. Now, of course, this is the 9th episode of this iteration of the SpecialKolin podcast, and this is probably the 9th iteration of this iteration of the SpecialKolin podcast, in that I cannot stick to anything consistent with this podcast because I don't know what I want it to be necessarily. I do want to kind of get a little bit more into its roots from way back in the day of technology and photography and stuff like that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about photography this time around, a little bit of technology, because I mean, photography is photography is essentially just technology used to do something. So also, I apologize if I sound funny. I am getting over a cold, and and basically, like, we were going to record the 56th episode of the Attack of the Beards cast last night, and I was just coughing all day. I hadn't had any, like, it was just one of those things that just hit me all of a sudden. Today I'm doing a little bit better. I'm just not able to talk proper now, but I am not coughing as much as I was yesterday. So hopefully we don't run into any problems. I'm going to stop talking about coughing so I don't think about coughing, which will make me cough. So we're going to keep going. The first thing I wanted to talk about was I've kind of started writing a post about this, and I've been writing a post about it for, I don't know, the past month or two or 3 months or so. But I've had this camera. If you're watching on YouTube or on the website, I have a camera, and the one I'm recording the video on right now. It's the Fujifilm X-T2, which is a mirrorless APS-C or crop sensor camera, and I've kind of been writing a blog post about it, and I'm not sure when I'm gonna post it or anything like that, because I want it to be a review but not a review kind of a thing. I feel like I need to put more words into it, basically. But I've been using the X-T2 for about a year now. About a year ago, long story short, I guess, about a year ago, I sold my 5D Mark III, my Canon 5D Mark III, which is a full-frame DSLR. It is something that a million people use, and it's critically acclaimed. It's a wonderful piece of equipment. I completely understand why people buy them and everything like that, but unfortunately, in my eyes, Canon has not been moving forward technology-wise for the longest time now. And so to combat that, not necessarily combat that, but with the release of, with the rumors of the 5D Mark IV that were coming up, and the rumors of the X-T2 that were coming up back when because I pre-ordered this, but in that amount of time, I didn't see any reason to upgrade to the Mark IV, because Canon didn't seem to be wanting to grow as a company. And from the looks of things, Fujifilm really, really, really likes listening to their customers. They like to try new things. I had also at the time, I had, like, when I had first started thinking about the transition, I had bought a Fujifilm X-T2, which, if you follow me on Instagram, you see that I post things with it all the time. It's a fun little camera, but I had tested it out, and the picture quality, the image quality, was about the same as the 5D Mark III, which I thought was ridiculous for an incredibly inexpensive camera to be matched up with something that's claimed to be so much better. So I had no choice but to I researched the crap out of the XT2 or the XT1 and the XT2, what was rumored to be in it and all that stuff. From what I could tell, they were using really good sensors in it, and I bit the bullet and I went for it, and I've been enjoying it. I've really been enjoying it. The best part about what I do here, I'm currently recording this at work, after work, out of hours, not interrupting business or anything like that at all. But what I do here is I get the opportunity to go to events, and I, sometimes I'll even travel and stuff like that. So right after getting the XT2, we had a big event, which is one of the bigger Jeep events. I think I've talked about kind of what we do here. But we sell aftermarket automotive parts. But one of the biggest Jeep events in the year is close by here. And right after getting it, that was going on. So instead of taking the company's 5D Mark III, because at that point I had sold my 5D Mark III, I took the Fujifilm X-T2 with me to this event. And it was a local event, so worst case scenario, I just run and grab the 5D Mark III that we have if something terrible ever happened. But I was able to shoot. It was about an 8-hour day out in the outside. It's Florida, but it's October, but it was still Florida, so it was still pretty hot out. Today is an odd day, although it says it's 81 right now, but it also is humid and raining, so that's something also to take into account. But it was a normal day, more or less. It was hot. It was a little humid. I think it rained for a little bit, but the camera gave me no problems at all. You could feel the big downside was you could feel that it was getting hot, and it was cause for concern. It wasn't alarming or anything like that, but it was just like the only times I have had a DSLR heat up on me is if I was doing incredibly long exposures, or in the case of, because I also had the 50D. The 50D is not designed in any way, shape, or form to record video, but you can make it record video. And when I would record video with the 50D, it would heat up a lot, because and basically here, like, the big thing with some cameras, like the Fujifilm X Pro 2, essentially has similar innards that the X-T2 has. And like the big difference between the two is that the X-T2 has a gigantic heatsink in it. Not a gigantic, a heatsink in it to help absorb heat while recording video, which is nice. And as you're probably seeing, it records really good video for the most part. And during that event, I recorded video, and even though that is not part of my normal duties, but in the end, some clips that I had shot ended up in our couple of our highlight videos that we made for the actual event, since we were sponsors, and so we were kind of publicizing the event after the fact. But after that, we also went to we traveled out west to Las Vegas. And before we actually, well, after we landed in Vegas, we rented a car, and we went out to Death Valley. Death Valley, hottest place on Earth, or not hottest place on Earth, hottest place in the United States, lowest place below sea level on land in the United States. It's a breathtaking place, and I highly recommend going. I'll try to cut in some photos maybe. But I was out there with the X-T2, and we went on a few hikes, and it was, it made the hiking easier because of how lightweight the camera is, and not having to worry about this huge bulky body or anything like that. Like, I felt like I could just carry it by itself. I don't feel like I needed to put it in a bag just to carry it because of the size or anything like that. Did a little rock climbing with it. It was great. It was perfect. It really is. The mirrorless form factors are just made for people that are on the go. If I was strictly shooting in a studio, photography in a studio, I would be more inclined to use a DSLR. But because I'm in a studio, I'm outside, I'm traveling, I'm constantly on my feet, I'm on the go all the time. Having a smaller camera, it just makes everything work so much better for me. And speaking of hikes, before that, I completely forgot. I keep forgetting. But we had also taken, Sarah and I had taken a trip up to North Carolina for our anniversary last year. And we went on a bunch of hikes then too. And it was like we did something almost every single day. And I had the X-T2 on me every single day. Multiple mile hikes at various altitudes. It was a dream. It was like, I could not imagine. Like, I did hikes that I did previously with the 5D Mark III, with the 50D. I did the hikes that I did with a Rebel XT. And in none of those hikes did I feel as comfortable as I did with the X-T2. Just carrying the camera and knowing that the camera not only was as lightweight as it was, but also was as capable as it was. I was able to get a lot of cool 4K video. It only shoots 4K at 30 frames per second. I think you can do 24p at it too, but doesn't do 4K at 60, which I know is kind of a deal breaker for some video people. But for me, I don't do anything cinematic or anything like that at this time, at least. So this is great. One of the things that I really am enjoying about it is, and I'm using it right now too, is it's got a remote feature where I can remotely control it from my phone over Wi-Fi. And apparently, like, they're working on Bluetooth too, because I guess I just updated the app and it started saying something about Bluetooth. I think it's the XE3, I want to say. XE3, something like that. I can't remember. The latest Fujifilm camera has Bluetooth on it too, to help sync it and stuff like that, because some phones work better with Bluetooth than Wi-Fi something like that. When it comes to devices, I don't know. I'm not too into. This is the first time I've had a device that uses Wi-Fi. Okay, no. Second time, which brings me into next topic. GoPro has announced the Hero 6. I guess 5. I feel like they just announced the 5, like maybe last year or something like that. But they've got the 6 now. 6 now offers 4K video resolution at 60 frames per second, which is, again, that's one thing that videographers really look for, as well as 2.7K at 120 frames per second. So you can get slow motion at a higher resolution, which is great. And of course, 240 frames per second at 1080p. Perfect for high resolution slow motion video clips. It records at a higher bit rate. Basically, it makes it so that it's, the video quality is much better. It's compressed much better, not as artifacty or anything like that with the H.265 instead of H.264. I am interested in how the raw footage looks at 4K at 60, because I know it's a huge amount of data to be pushing from a sensor onto a card, and a lot of times when cameras can do that, and that's one reason I'm glad that this camera can't do that, is because I know a lot of what they'll do is they'll just compress the video. They'll just use the highest bitrate they can just so that it'll just write it at 60 frames per second, which and a lot of times will mean that the quality will deteriorate and will not look as good. I have left in the description down below or on the site if you're listening to this in a podcatcher or something like that. I've left a link where you can I'll let you decide what you think, because the GoPro is a really niche kind of device, and I'm always iffy about using the GoPro. I was thinking about filming this on my GoPro, but considering that I shot the last one on my 5D Mark III, I figured, maybe not. Although I might use it as a second camera in future ones, because I like the 2 camera shots. Anyway, but yeah, no, the 6 is out, or it's been announced. The Hero 6 is also waterproof to 33 feet or 10 meters without a housing, which I think is the coolest thing, because my GoPro is the GoPro Hero 3, and then there was the 4 after that, and then there was the 5. But the 5 was the first one that they didn't need a housing on it, which is super cool to me, which I think helps the idea of using the camera to record audio as well as video. Because when you have it in the housing, there's no audio that you can get to it unless you have like one of the skeleton housings or something like that, and then those things are super flimsy, and I don't like them. The Hero 6 Black Edition is already shipping, and you can get it in most retailers for about $500, which, if you're looking for a do anything camera, I don't want to say you should get this camera. That's my big thing, is I don't want to say get this camera if you're wanting to start photography. If you are the type of, if you want to start doing like vlogging, or if you're just wanting to do like YouTube videos, nothing cinematic, but if you're wanting to do videos, just basic videos, GoPro's a great place to start. And the level in which the Hero 6 is at, I'd say $500, that's a good investment. in a camera. Um, Again, it's not gonna be. You're not gonna be getting like DSLR, quality photos out of it. You're not gonna be getting, you know, cinema quality or pro end quality video out of it. You're just going to be getting good enough, for photos and good enough for video. It's something to start a creative platform on, and that's really where the GoPro lies. I mean, it's durable and it's great to capture things. So if you're wanting to start, just in the words of Jared Polin, just start, and it is a great place to just start. That's exactly where it is. And that's where it lies, and that's what it's good for. It's a great place to start just taking pictures or taking video. I think it would, in my opinion, it is best as a video camera and not a photo camera. I would much rather take video with a GoPro than take photos. Especially starting out. If you're starting out, just get a point and shoot, or really dive in like dirty style with your iPhone or Android or whatever you have. That would make for really like it takes a lot of work figuring out the nitty gritty on your smartphone. So jumping around like I do, I had mentioned that last year we went out west. We went to Death Valley. It was a really fun trip. While we were also out there, there is a show. It's usually the beginning of November. It's in the beginning of November. It's called SEMA or SEMA. It's the Specialized Engineered Manufacturers Association, something like that. It's a show, and it's where all of the aftermarket automotive part manufacturers, and as well as the big car truck manufacturers all come together, and they just kind of show off whatever they've got. And our company usually goes, and my job, because I'm a photographer, I take photos of everything. Well, last year it was a huge test Last year was a huge test for the X-T2 with the X-T2. Last year was a huge test with the X-T2, and I mean it performed with flying colors, and I'm fully expecting to do the same this year. Although I'm trying to get a different camera for work purposes. Even though I love it, I feel like the A7R2 would do me better purposes in this environment, because I do also shoot a lot of studio stuff, and so the higher resolution would benefit me greatly. But that aside, I was more or less planning on just saying like that I'm going to be going. And I am going. I'm going again this year for 2017, although I haven't gotten my registration email yet. All that being said, I will be going, and I will be trying to share a little bit of the trip there. I plan on doing at least the SpecialKolin podcast while I'm out there. I don't know if I'm going to be bringing all my audio equipment with me, but I will will have a camera, I will have a tripod, and I will have a pretty cool set, I think, for that one. So if you aren't subscribed to the YouTube channel, which I think would be the Attack of the Beards? Yeah, let's say it's going to be on the Attack of the Beards YouTube channel. I would highly recommend subscribing to that, and that's where you'll see the video for this episode, and you'll also see the video from that episode, which will be in about a month. So and I might have guests on and stuff like that because I'm going out with coworkers. And what's the point of having coworkers if you aren't also friends with them? So I have good reason to believe that I could probably convince at least one of them to be on a show with me, especially with as much alcohol as out there. But because I'm recording this on October 3rd, I this is hard for me to say. But it's this year is going to be a difficult trip out there. Not necessarily 100% personally on my end, but because of the tragedy that has just happened. I mean, literally happened this past, this yesterday. Not just yesterday. I think it was Sunday night. And in Las Vegas on the Strip even, that the gunman that was shooting from Mandalay Bay into a crowd of people, killing at least 58 it was, and and there was over 400, 500 I think it was last time I looked, somewhere around there, people injured, and it's just incredible. And this is starting up so many people on the left, on the right, in the center. Everybody's pointing fingers, and I think the big thing is we need to remember that there is no one solution to this problem, and none of us know what it is, and we're not going to be able to figure it out when we're drawing lines. We're not drawing sides or anything like that. We're not going to be able to figure it out. We're not going to be able to figure out when we have a group of people saying that we're right and you're wrong, and when the people on the other side are saying the same thing. We will not be able to have a real solution unless we all put our minds together, as difficult as it is, work it out. And I am the last person to be saying anything political or anything like that, and I don't want to. And at the end of the 2016 election, I had said, hey, I'm going to try to keep politics. I'm going to do my best to keep politics off of the things that I do. Because I don't think that politics should rule us or anything like that. I think that there should be spaces for politics to be, not a thing. But when there is things like this, I feel like I need to bring it up and remind people that we are all in this together, and we all need to come together to come up with a solution. I mean, there's the two big arguments are these, and I just want to lightly go over them. But the two big arguments are that on one side, you have the people that are calling for gun control. And that's it's a good thing to consider. Considering that the gun that the man used, he purchased legally. Even the guy that he had bought the gun from, again, legally, the guy he deals in guns. Like, he has an actual storefront and he sells guns. There's nothing wrong with that man that sells guns. Nothing wrong with him. He was doing his job. Like, he was like, all right, you are legally allowed to own this gun. Here you go. And he even, when he saw the picture of the man that shot him, that was doing all the shooting, he remembered, like, he was like, wow, that I remember that guy. And it stunned him. Like, it was just like, and the fact that was able, like, that was, you know, allowed to transpire. I mean, granted, the dude had an arsenal, so who knows? I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not a gun guy or anything like that, so I don't know what he had or what was legal or what wasn't illegal. I just know that some of the guns he had and what hadn't and used were legal. So it's interesting to me to think that some people aren't seeing that as, and I understand that some people don't want to see that as a solution because they like to own guns, and that's fine. You're more than, like, it's more than within your rights to be able to, provide safety for yourself. And I get it. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't own guns. Personally, I don't own a gun. And I don't ever want to own a gun. That's just me. Even though everybody I know that owns guns tells me, Colin, you need to get a gun. Just like everybody that does, like, heavily addicting drugs tells me, Colin, you got to do these drugs. It's kind of weird. And then on the other side, the people that are saying that the guns are not the problem, they're also saying, no, it's because he had a mental issue. He was mentally ill. And there's no way of saying that's not, like, a possibility. Like, I mean, clearly he was mentally unstable. A person who is mentally fine wouldn't have done this at all. Like, that's reality. But of course, then the argument becomes, well, why doesn't the mentally unstable person, why was that not screened when he was trying to purchase a gun? And then that goes back into gun control. We need better gun control. Kind of strange how that works. But I mean, what do you do then? And then in that same breath, we can also talk about healthcare. And, well, if this guy's mental health, like, he was mentally unstable, he was mentally unhealthy, what could we say then? We couldn't say that, he should have sought help, but help is expensive when you're trying to do it by yourself. And so, in reality, if we had socialized healthcare, not to put too much into this, but if we had a readily available healthcare where he could have just been able to walk in, maybe been on a waiting list, yeah, sure, why not? But been on a waiting list, been able to talk to a psychiatrist, be able to seek out help, and then get help without causing more stress, more turmoil, more deterioration mentally put upon him because of having to shell out hundreds and thousands of dollars to get that help. And then sometimes, I mean, like, and I am far from being perfect mentally and physically even too, as I'm sitting here and I am literally sick. But I mean, sometimes, just one visit doesn't help. 2 visits to a psychiatrist don't help. Sometimes it's weeks, months. Sometimes it's years You have to go, and you have to go consistently, and you have to talk to these people. And it's up to the doctor to formulate a diagnosis as to what's going wrong with you, that this person. And that costs a lot of money, and I think being able to do that freely without cost, being able to do that, better screening when it comes to people that are buying guns, not just background checks, mental health checks. Have them, instead of a 30-day wait period, have the 30-day wait period, but only give them the 30-day wait period after they have gone to see a clinical psychologist multiple times for screening. Granted, every psychologist is going to find something. It's like when you take your car to a mechanic, specifically when you take your car to the dealership, they're always going to find something wrong. You go in for your oil change, and you come out having paid for an alignment, filters for your air conditioning, and new brakes. Like, that's how it is. Like, but you will also have still gotten that oil change. You will have still gotten that yes or no. This guy should, is mentally capable of owning a gun and not killing people mindlessly. Now, I'm not saying this is a perfect solution. I'm not saying this is the solution. I'm not saying that people should even attempt to reason with this solution. I'm just saying this is a solution that I think could appease both sides. But I am, like I've said a million times, I am the last person to be asking about that. That being said, I still am looking forward to going to Vegas this year, and I will definitely have a moment of silence while I'm there to remember the people that, they lost what they didn't need to lose while they were there. But yeah, that's I will see what I can do while I'm there as far as giving some video and stuff like that. I don't think I'm going to make a point of posting a video specifically for that. But I will remember those while I'm there, in one way or the other. Moving on to a lighter note, a little bit more exciting too. As I said in the beginning, that this is brought to you by the patreon.com/Attack of the Beards. This is now a part of the Attack of the Beards podcast network. I'm still working out the actual naming of the thing, because I'm wanting it to be a podcast network, but it's not exactly going to be just podcasts. It's going to be like videos and stuff like that too, because I'm wanting to do some things that don't come across in just audio. I might release audio versions of videos just because why not? But I plan on having a lot of different, a variety of different content for people to enjoy. I want to kind of, in a way, be able to have something for everybody. For people that are more into technology and photography and just, I guess, I don't know. I still don't know what this show is. What is this show? You tell me what this show is. Send me an email, SpecialKolin@gmail.com. That's SpecialKolin@gmail.com. Ooh, almost just said .com. Just skipped over the @gmail, just added .com. I mean, you could go to SpecialKolin.com too, and just you could just type stuff. there's comment sections on each of the posts, so you just type, hey, this is what your podcast is about. But if you're into whatever this show is, cool. If you're into like just casual people hanging out, talking about every once in a while, talking about video games, comic books, things of that nature, definitely check out the Attack of the Beards cast. It's not necessarily part of the Attack of the Beards network, but the Attack of the Beards network does support Suplex the Sticks, a gaming podcast, which you can find out more at on Facebook, Twitter, and SoundCloud under Suplex the Sticks, which is all about video games, and they do a wonderful job. And like I said, I completely support everything that they do. And the Attack of the Beards network does too. Full disclosure, they wanted to stay. I think I mentioned on the Attack of the Beards cast that they were going to be joining us. They wanted to stay independent. I completely get that. I figured that this was more of a whatever. There is going to be, I am saying it right now, there is going to be a podcast. It's going to be a short podcast, and I'm going to try to make it weekly. Podcast about movies, whatever like the latest movie is, or what it's going to be whatever movie I see. But it's going to be like a movie a week, and we're going to just go over the movie, the synopsis and a quick review, kind of. It's going to be like, was good, was bad, like kind of things. And I'm going to go over that a lot more in the future once we're actually ready to go with it. I think I want to record at least 2 or 3 episodes before we actually launch it. That way, like, I can work out the kinks in the back end instead of just publishing crap, because I don't want to publish crap, and that's the Attack of the Beards way. I don't want to publish crap. Ever since, I guess now, more or less, I don't know. Anyhow, that being said, I thank all of you, every single one of you guys at home that is watching, wherever you are, listening in your car, while you're jogging on a treadmill, while you're hiking a mountain, while you're in a plane flying to wherever. I don't know what you're doing. But if you get any value out of the various content that we do on the Attack of the Beards Network, I thoroughly encourage you to head on over patreon.com/Attack of the Beards. There's a link in the description here, and I'm pointing in the video, so I'm going to assume that future me, who is editing this video, will put in at the bottom patreon.com/Attack of the Beards. Attack of the Beards, all one word, ATTACKOFTHEBEARDS. That's how that goes, right? Patreon.com/Attack of the Beards. Here it is. Look at that. It was saved in my favorites. Like I always I do that. And a huge shout out to our number 1 patron, Scott Sakura, who is the Beardcaster. Scott Sakura is a cool dude. If you are into beards, if you grow beards, I know it looks like I trimmed my beard. I did trim my beard recently. If you're into beards, bearding, professional competitive bearding, which I didn't even know was a thing before I had met Scott. But yes, like, professional bearding is a thing. Scott does an amazing job talking to the people who are in the community, that are all about the community, are just all around awesome people. He interviews somebody different all the time, and it's an amazing podcast. I completely recommend, if you like what I do on this podcast, and if you like what we do on the Attack of the Beards cast, and if you like Suplex the Sticks, a gaming podcast, I highly recommend listening to the Beardcaster. It's a great show. But until next time, I'm SpecialKolin. You can find more about me and what I do at SpecialKolin.com. That is SpecialKolin. KOLIN.com. And until next time, drive safely.
This has been a production of Attack of the Beards and Net Nothing Media. For more information and to check out our other shows, visit attackofthebeards.com.